The massive holographic display flickered with an almost contemptuous clarity. Billions of kilometers from Earth, aboard the Variax Imperium's flagship Dominion Spear, High Strategist Krell studied the blue-green planet with the detached curiosity of a predator examining unremarkable prey. Krell's 7-fingered appendage, more tentacle than hand, swept across the holographic interface. Decades of conquest had taught the Variax that every civilization followed a predictable pattern. First contact always broke the same way: initial terror, followed by negotiation, then submission. Humanity would be no different. Preliminary scans complete, chirped the ship's artificial intelligence, its synthesized voice devoid of emotion. Technological development. Stage 2 civilization. Maximum defensive capabilities. Minimal. Projected conquest time. 72 standard cycles. A low, rumbling chuckle escaped Krell's throat, a sound that resembled grinding metal more than any recognizable laugh. Another easy conquest. Another civilization to be added to the Variax Imperium's endless catalog of subjugated worlds. But beneath the Swiss Alps, in a facility so secret it didn't exist on any official record, something extraordinary was happening. Maya Rodriguez's hands moved with surgical precision across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Around her, a temperature-controlled chamber hummed with the potential of humanity's most closely guarded secret, the Sentinel Project. Final quantum entanglement sequence initiating, she murmured, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what was about to unfold. 37 screens surrounded her, each displaying complex algorithms, global communication networks, and real-time planetary defense systems. This wasn't just a military installation. It was the culmination of humanity's most ambitious collective effort. The team had spent decades preparing, not with open military buildups or dramatic proclamations, but through careful, calculated preparation. Scientists from 42 countries had worked in absolute secrecy, united by a single premise: Earth would never become another conquered footnote in some alien civilization's historical archives. A small red light began to pulse. First contact was imminent. Maya glanced at the photograph pinned to her workstation. Her grandfather, a veteran who had survived multiple global conflicts. His eyes seemed to watch her, a silent testament to human resilience. The same spirit that had helped humanity survive world wars, climate catastrophes, and global pandemics now prepared to face its greatest challenge. Outside the facility, the world continued its routine. In Tokyo, commuters rushed through subway stations. In Sao Paulo, street vendors sold their wares. In Cairo, students prepared for examinations. None of them knew how close they were to a moment that would redefine human history. The quantum communication network, a system so advanced it made current internet technology look like primitive smoke signals, began to pulse with encrypted data. Millions of network devices, seemingly ordinary smartphones and satellites, quietly shifted into a state of readiness. Krell, still studying the holographic representation of Earth, remained blissfully unaware of the storm gathering beneath the planet's seemingly tranquil surface. "Initiate first contact protocols," Krell commanded, tentacle fingers pressing against the holographic interface. In the Swiss Alps, Maya Rodriguez took a deep breath. Her finger hovered above the final activation sequence. The universe held its breath. Humanity was about to show everyone exactly who they were. The world looked ordinary, but beneath the surface, humanity pulsed with a coordinated energy that would have shocked the approaching Variax fleet. In a converted shipping container tucked away in a nondescript industrial park outside Sao Paulo, Dr. Elena Santos fought back a yawn. Her fingers danced across a holographic interface that was anything but ordinary. Lines of adaptive AI code scrolled faster than human eyes could track, each algorithm a potential weapon against an unknown threat. "Hydrogen network stabilizing," she murmured to herself, watching as complex mathematical patterns shifted and realigned. What appeared to be a simple communication protocol was actually a global defense system disguised as mundane technological infrastructure. 3 screens away, A younger engineer named Julio Martinez monitored global satellite networks. To any outside observer, it would look like routine telecommunications maintenance. In reality, he was weaving an invisible web of quantum-encrypted communication channels that could survive even a total electromagnetic bombardment. Thousands of kilometers away in a converted Cold War-era bunker beneath the Ural Mountains, a team of Russian and Chinese network specialists worked in perfect synchronization. Decades of geopolitical tension had dissolved in the face of a potential extraterrestrial threat. National boundaries meant nothing when survival was at stake. Hiroshi Nakamura in Tokyo completed the final calibrations on a series of electromagnetic pulse generators. Disguised as commercial telecommunications arrays, these devices could transform entire cities into impenetrable defensive fortresses in milliseconds. Each array was a work of art, complex enough to appear completely innocuous, yet capable of rendering the most advanced alien technology completely useless. The preparation wasn't just technological. Military forces around the globe had been quietly repositioning, their movements so subtle that they appeared to be routine training exercises. Submarines altered their patrol patterns. Stealth aircraft were repositioned to strategic locations. Satellite networks shifted their orbits with microscopic precision. In Geneva, a secret council of global leadership, representing every major nation, met in a facility so deep underground that geological instruments couldn't detect its existence. They weren't just preparing for a potential invasion. They were orchestrating humanity's most ambitious collaborative effort in history. The Sentinel project is now at 97% global integration, announced Dr. Santos, her voice cutting through the low hum of technological activity. No one cheered. No one celebrated. This was deadly serious business. The quantum communication grid they had developed was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't just a network. It was a living, breathing system that could adapt, learn, and respond faster than any centralized command structure. Every smartphone, every satellite, every network device was now a potential sensor, a potential weapon. Julio Martinez noticed a slight anomaly in one of the satellite feeds. His hand moved almost instinctively, and within milliseconds, the entire global network had adjusted. A potential vulnerability had been identified and neutralized before it could even become a threat. This was humanity's true strength, not individual brilliance, but collective adaptation. The Variacs believed they were approaching a divided, technologically infantile world. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. A small indicator light turned from yellow to green on Dr. Santos' interface. Global defense systems were now at full readiness. First contact was no longer a possibility. It was inevitable. The invasion pods screamed through Earth's atmosphere like metallic hornets, each one a technological marvel of destruction. Inside the lead pod, Assault Commander Vex allowed himself a moment of anticipation. Hundreds of civilizations had fallen before the Variax Imperium. This would be no different. Targeting protocols engaged, the pod's AI announced in its clinical tone. Estimated time to ground zero, 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Vex's multiple eyes, arranged in a complex radial pattern that allowed near 360-degree vision, carefully studied the topographical displays. Major population centers identified. Critical infrastructure mapped. Resistance potential negligible. What Vex didn't see were the invisible defenses already preparing to strike. In the underground command center beneath the Swiss Alps, Maya Rodriguez watched the incoming invasion force with a predator's calm. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, coordinating a response that would rewrite the rules of interstellar warfare. Sentinel network activated. She spoke softly into her communication link. Around the world, a symphony of technological defense began to play. In Tokyo, Hiroshi Nakamura's electromagnetic pulse generators hummed to life. They looked like ordinary telecommunications towers, their true purpose hidden in plain sight. Each device was a masterpiece of adaptive technology, capable of transforming entire urban landscapes into impenetrable fortresses. Aboard the Variax flagship, High Strategist Krell watched the invasion pods descend with the same bored contempt he'd shown throughout the approach. "Initiate standard conquest protocols," he commanded, his tentacle-like appendages pressing against holographic controls. The first indication that something was wrong came precisely 47 seconds into the descent. Invasion pods began to fail, not dramatically, not with explosions, but with a systematic, almost surgical precision that defied all known combat algorithms. Electronic systems simply died. Advanced alien technology transformed into inert metal, falling from the sky like expensive rain. "System failure," the lead pod's AI reported, its voice suddenly uncertain. "Countermeasures beyond computational prediction." Commander Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of military conquest: genuine surprise. The quantum communication network humanity had developed wasn't just a defense system. It was a living, breathing organism of technological adaptation. Each invasion pod was simultaneously targeted by multiple defensive protocols, its systems systematically neutralized before it could even begin its attack. In Sao Paulo, Dr. Elena Santos watched real-time data streams that showed the alien invasion being dismantled with mathematical precision. Adaptive response at 99.7% efficiency, she reported to the Global Defense Network. Satellites that moments ago appeared to be simple communication devices transformed into a coordinated defensive grid. Cellular networks became tracking systems. Every piece of technology became a potential weapon. The Variax invasion force, designed to overwhelm through technological superiority, found itself fighting an enemy that didn't just defend. It anticipated, adapted, and neutralized. High Strategist Krell's tentacles froze mid-motion as the holographic display showed invasion pods falling like dead insects. This was not how conquests were supposed to happen. Humanity was sending a message: "We are not your prey." In the underground command center, Maya Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. The first strike was complete, and the war had only just begun. The research facility looked like controlled chaos. Fragments of alien technology covered every available surface, each piece a puzzle waiting to be solved. Dr. Maya Rodriguez moved between workstations, her eyes burning with an almost predatory intellectual intensity. "This quantum processor," she said, holding up a delicate piece of alien technology that seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid states, "is about to become something the Variax never imagined." Around her, a team of 37 scientists from 18 different countries worked with a synchronicity that defied traditional research methodologies. National boundaries had dissolved. Competitive instincts had been replaced by a singular purpose: understanding, then surpassing, alien technology. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura carefully dissected a Variax energy weapon, his hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. What the aliens considered an ultimate weapon of destruction, he saw as an elegant solution to humanity's energy crisis. "Look at this," he called out, projecting a holographic breakdown of the weapon's energy matrix. "The quantum entanglement principle here could revolutionize renewable energy production. We're not just defending, we're evolving." In a corner of the lab, Dr. Elena Santos worked on something even more revolutionary. The communication systems they'd captured weren't just communication devices. They were living networks of information, adaptive intelligence taken to its logical extreme. "It's not about copying their technology," Maya explained to a group of international military advisors observing the research. "It's about understanding the fundamental principles and then reimagining them through a human lens." A Variax data storage module became a breakthrough in medical imaging technology. An invasion pod's navigation system was transformed into an unprecedented climate modeling tool. Each piece of alien technology was like a seed, ready to bloom into something entirely unexpected. The military advisors watched in a mixture of awe and barely contained excitement. These weren't just defensive adaptations. This was a technological leap that would redefine human potential. "We're turning their weapon of conquest into our tool of survival," Maya muttered, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. In another section of the facility, a team worked on integrating alien quantum computing principles with human adaptive AI. The result wasn't just a new type of computer, it was a thinking machine that could predict and adapt faster than any known system. Dr. Santos discovered something even more profound. The Variax communication networks weren't just technological systems, they were nearly living entities with adaptive capabilities that bordered on biological intelligence. Humanity would take this concept and push it beyond anything the Variax could comprehend. They came to conquer, Maya said, holding up a partially reconstructed alien communication device. Her reflection gleamed in its iridescent surface. We'll use their technology to save ourselves, and then improve it. Outside the facility, the world continued its routine. But something fundamental had changed. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were transforming. The Variax had brought their most advanced technology to Earth, believing it would ensure their victory. They had no idea they were providing the building blocks of their own defeat. The transmission began with silence. Aboard the Variax flagship Dominion Spear, communication specialists watched in confusion as their most advanced receiver arrays picked up a signal that defied every expected protocol of first contact. No desperate pleas, no panic negotiations, just a carefully curated narrative that would shake the foundations of the Variax Imperium's entire philosophical understanding of conquest. Images flickered across their holographic displays, not of surrender, but of human resilience. The first wave showed the construction of the Panama Canal. Thousands of workers battling impossible terrain, disease, and seemingly insurmountable geological challenges. Engineers and laborers from dozens of nations worked together, transforming an entire continent's geography through sheer human determination. High strategist Krell's multiple eyes narrowed. This was not a transmission of weakness. Next came images of the Apollo moon landing, a fragile spacecraft constructed with technology that would be considered primitive by Variax standards, traversing the impossible void of space. Human beings standing on another celestial body, their footprints a testament to a species that refused to be limited by its own limitations. Dr. Elena Santos had designed this transmission with surgical precision. Each image was a carefully selected piece of human history, not just a record of achievement, but a psychological weapon. Scenes of global medical responses to pandemics followed. Doctors and nurses working endless shifts, scientists collaborating across continents to develop vaccines in record time. The Variax communication networks began to show signs of computational stress as they tried to process the complex emotional data embedded in these transmissions. They're not just sending information, whispered a Variax communication specialist. They're sending a message about who they are. The transmission continued. The rebuilding of cities after world wars. The cleaning of the Chernobyl reactor. The International Space Station, a monument to global cooperation that hung in orbit as a silent challenge to the idea of insurmountable differences. Krell felt something unprecedented, a sensation that might, in a human, be called doubt. In the underground command center, Maya Rodriguez monitored the transmission's impact. Each image was more than historical record. It was a carefully constructed psychological warfare tool designed to communicate a simple, terrifying message to the Variax. We are not your victims. We are humanity. The final segment of the transmission was perhaps the most devastating. A compilation of human artistic and scientific achievements. The music of Mozart played alongside equations of quantum mechanics. Paintings that captured the depth of human emotion contrasted with robotic rovers exploring distant planets. The Variax communication networks began to experience something unprecedented. Their computational systems were struggling to categorize and process the transmission. It wasn't just data. It was a declaration. Humanity was not just a species to be conquered. They were a civilization that transformed challenge into opportunity. As the transmission ended, a simple message scrolled across Variax communication arrays. We are Earth. We are waiting. The first Variax strike teams never saw it coming. Hiroshi Nakamura's fingers danced across a holographic interface that looked more like an abstract art installation than a command center. Behind him, a wall of screens displayed a global network of quantum-encrypted communication channels, each one a potential weapon. "Adaptive response protocol initiating," he murmured, and the entire world seemed to take a collective breath. Using the reverse-engineered faster-than-light technology captured from the initial invasion attempt, humanity didn't just prepare a defense. They launched a counterattack that would redefine interstellar warfare. High Strategist Krell watched in growing horror as human strike teams appeared in locations that should have been mathematically impossible to reach. Each invasion point was a precision strike, calculated with an algorithmic brilliance that defied every known military doctrine of the Variax Imperium. Dr. Maya Rodriguez had transformed the aliens' own faster-than-light technology into something entirely new. It wasn't just transportation. It was a living network of predictive movement, each jump calculated not just by computers, but by adaptive AI systems that learned and evolved with every millisecond of conflict. "They're not just moving," one of Krell's junior strategists reported, her voice trembling. "They're predicting our responses before we make them." The human counterattack was a symphony of technological and strategic innovation. Captured Variax communication networks were now weapons, turned against their original creators. Each transmission became a potential trap, each quantum signal a method of psychological and technological warfare. In orbit around a distant Variax supply depot, a human strike team materialized with impossible precision. What appeared to be a small assault group was actually a complex infiltration unit. Half were soldiers, half were scientists. Their mission wasn't just destruction. It was information extraction and technological adaptation. "Tactical objectives secured," reported Captain Elena Santos, her voice calm despite the complexity of the operation. "Initiating data harvest." The Variax had decades of technological superiority. Humanity had something far more powerful: the ability to learn, adapt, and transform faster than any known civilization. Krell's communication networks began to fail in ways that defied computational logic. It wasn't just that human forces were defeating Variax systems. They were fundamentally rewriting the rules of technological engagement. A Variax fleet division that was preparing a counter-response found itself suddenly isolated. Communication channels went dark. Navigation systems became unreliable. It was as if the very fabric of their technological superiority was being systematically dismantled. "This is impossible," Krell muttered, his multiple appendages moving frantically across communication interfaces. But it was happening. Humanity had turned the Variax's greatest weapons into their own tools of war. Faster-than-light technology became a precision instrument of strategic insertion. Quantum communication networks transformed into adaptive warfare systems. The human counterattack wasn't just a military response. It was a fundamental challenge to everything the Variax believed about technological warfare. They had come to conquer a planet. They were about to lose an entire interstellar empire. The central chamber of the Variax Imperial Council erupted in chaos. High Strategist Krell stood at the epicenter, his multiple appendages trembling with a combination of rage and something the Variax had never truly experienced before: genuine fear. Star charts flickered with rapidly diminishing fleet positions. What had begun as a routine conquest had transformed into a systematic dismantling of the most powerful military force in known galactic history. "Explain," Krell demanded, his voice a low, dangerous rumble that would have sent lesser beings cowering. Commander Vex, recently returned from the initial Earth engagement, presented a holographic report that seemed to defy all computational logic. Entire fleet divisions were going dark. Communication networks were being turned against themselves. The humans weren't just defending. They were fundamentally rewriting the rules of interstellar warfare. "Their technological adaptation rates are beyond anything in our historical records," Vex reported, his voice stripped of its previous confidence. "They're not just learning our systems. They're evolving faster than our ability to respond." The Imperial Chamber fell silent. For millennia, The Variax Imperium had conquered civilizations with a methodical, almost bureaucratic efficiency. Resistance was always futile, always predictable. Until now. Holographic displays showed something unprecedented. Human strike teams appearing in locations that should have been mathematically impossible. Captured Variax technologies being rapidly reverse-engineered and weaponized. Communication networks transforming into adaptive combat systems. We've lost contact with 73% of our forward deployment units, another strategist reported, her voice barely above a whisper. The humans had done more than resist. They had turned the very concept of invasion on its head. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, watching from her underground command center, understood the psychological warfare they were waging. This wasn't just a military conflict. It was a total dismantling of the Variax's fundamental understanding of technological superiority. Each human strike was a precision instrument of both military and psychological destruction. They weren't just defeating the Variax. They were demonstrating the absolute fallacy of the Imperium's belief in its own invincibility. Adaptive response protocol continues to exceed computational predictions, reported Dr. Elena Santos, monitoring global defense networks. They're learning faster than we can track. On the Variax flagship, communication systems began to show signs of fundamental breakdown. It wasn't just technological failure. It was a systematic deconstruction of their entire military philosophy. Krell watched as another fleet division went dark. The humans weren't just fighting. They were evolving in real time, turning every Variax technological advantage into a potential weakness. We are being comprehensively defeated, Commander Vex finally admitted, the words feeling like a physical blow to the entire Imperial Council. The Variax had conquered hundreds of civilizations. They had believed themselves to be the pinnacle of technological evolution. Humanity was about to prove them catastrophically wrong. In the underground command center, Maya Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. The breaking point was approaching, and the Variax Imperium would never be the same again. The transmission came not with a whimper, but with the weight of a civilization's complete and total capitulation. High Strategist Krell's communication chamber was a cathedral of technological defeat. Holographic displays flickered with the last remnants of Variax imperial might. Each projection a testament to humanity's unprecedented victory. We submit, the words echoed across quantum communication channels, a phrase that had never before been uttered by the Variax Imperium in its 1,000-year history of galactic conquest. Dr. Maya Rodriguez watched the surrender from the underground command center, surrounded by a team that represented the true strength of humanity. Scientists, military strategists, and communication experts from 42 different countries. Their collaborative effort had done more than defend a planet. They had fundamentally altered the course of galactic civilization. The surrender was not a simple transmission. It was a comprehensive deconstruction of the Variax Imperium's entire philosophical and technological infrastructure. Initiating knowledge transfer protocol, Dr. Elena Santos announced, her fingers moving across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. What happened next was unprecedented in galactic history. The humans weren't just accepting a surrender. They were systematically downloading the entire technological and cultural database of the Variax Imperium. Every piece of scientific knowledge, every historical record, every technological blueprint, all became humanity's to analyze, understand, and potentially transform. Krell watched in a state of near paralysis as centuries of imperial technological supremacy were laid bare before these humans who were supposed to be a primitive, easily conquered species. The global defense network that humanity had developed wasn't just a military system. It was a living, adaptive intelligence that had transformed every aspect of human technological understanding. Captured Variax systems became the seeds of humanity's next great leap of innovation. In orbit above Earth, modified Variax ships, now under human control, stood as silent monuments to a victory that defied every known principle of interstellar conflict. The terms are non-negotiable. Maya Rodriguez's voice cut through the communication channels with surgical precision. Complete technological disclosure. full access to Variax research archives, permanent demilitarization of all Variax frontier systems. The irony was not lost on anyone. The civilization that had conquered hundreds of worlds was now being completely dismantled by the very species they had intended to subjugate. Hiroshi Nakamura, who had been crucial in developing humanity's adaptive defense systems, allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. "We didn't just defend ourselves," he murmured to his colleagues. "We rewrote the entire concept of interstellar conflict." The surrender wasn't just a military capitulation. It was a fundamental challenge to everything the Variax believed about technological superiority, about the nature of conquest, about the potential of emerging civilizations. As the final transmission of surrender completed, a simple message scrolled across Variax communication arrays. "Humanity, remember this moment." In the underground command center, Dr. Maya Rodriguez looked at her team, a group that represented the best of human potential. They had done more than defend a planet. They had changed the course of galactic history. The universe would never be the same again.